Good evening, everyone. This is Michael Blaze, and you're watching The Arts, Culture, and Us. And I have a special guest host, Mr. Leroy Cooper, Negro Leagues curator and historian. And tonight we're going to continue in our this is probably the third show we're doing on Negro Leagues baseball. However, tonight we're going to do something special. But first, Leroy is going to tell you a little bit about where he's just come back from, where he's been honored to just come back from.
I've been honored to be able to be at an event for the special electees, 17 inductees of the Hall of Fame from the Negro League and pre-Negro League era, and one woman first time ever to be inducted into the Hall of Fame.
Now normally they only do around 1 or 2 people a year, but this time they did 17.
Yes, they did.
Sort of like to make up for all these leagues, huh?
Yes.
Oh, cool, thanks. Okay, so tonight we're not only going to honor, we're happy all their families and friends and finally got the recognition they got, but tonight, this particular show is dedicated to the Japanese American leagues also, who were also part of the Negro Leagues.
Exactly.
You know, they what do they call it?
Barnstorming.
Barnstorming, going all around playing all takers. So we originally had a Mr. Kerry Nakagawa, who's done a fantastic thing. He was a Little Leagues coach, and he decided to preserve the heritage of Japanese Americans in baseball. A large part of what he's talking about is a gentleman. What was his name of the other gentleman?
Okay, he's right there.
What do they call it?
They call it Nietzsche ball.
Nietzsche ball. So we're going to find out. And a lot of it takes place because during World War II, all the Japanese Americans were arrested. They were put in concentration camps, and baseball was the thing that they found light in. Baseball gave them hope, encouragement. So we're just going to run our clip, which is a pretty long clip. Again, this was done by... Thank you. Again, this was done by Mr. I want to make sure I pronounce his name right. Kerry Nakagawa, and we will be doing a show with him in the near future. So start the clip right now for us, and you guys enjoy Japanese American baseball.
December 7th, 1941. The Japanese Imperial forces bomb Pearl Harbor, and 120,000 persons of Japanese ancestry are sent to 10 different detention camps in various desert wastelands. America imprisons Americans. The Zenimura family were sent to Gila River, Arizona. Kenichi's widow, Kyoko, and their 2 teenage sons, Howard and Harvey, move into Block 28, Barrack 13C of Camp 2. Everywhere Zenny went, he built a baseball stadium, the Fresno Japanese Ballpark, the Fresno Assembly Center. But his crown jewel was at Gila River. Zenny's passion for baseball never faded, even during camp life. On March 7th, 1943, Camp Director Bennett threw out the first pitch at Zenimura Field. It had a grass outfield and infield. Even had a home run fence grown from castor bean plants. Semi-pro games were played at Rower in Jerome, Arkansas, and the largest camp of 25,000 at Tule Lake, California. One irony was that those so-called enemy aliens could put on a baseball uniform and travel from Gila River, Arizona to Hart Mountain, Wyoming. If they wore civilian clothes, they'd be arrested. Baseball represented normalcy in the most abnormal conditions. Zenimura Field was truly an inspiration. It was always so hot and dry in the desert, Zenny would water the ground very early in the morning. I must say, it became a very nice ballpark.
In fact, we did most of our work during the morning. You know, as far as the ballpark is concerned.
Yeah, that's
Part of the roofing?
This is the kind of stuff I use.
Yeah.
Top.
I was 11 years old then.
No, that's the
My address was Camp 2, Block 55,
and
Barrack 2B.
the dishwashing and all of that area was here. Cook on that side and storage on the other. Yo voy to
That's where you guys got your first grinds, huh?
Yeah.
Not me, him.
Yeah,
I was too young. I was too young.
He was over at the ditch.
The field was as level as that. I don't know, this is higher. They built this place up.
Isn't it amazing that a baseball can turn any adult into a kid again
Catcher?
and bring back some of the best times of your life? I remember old man Zenny watering down his field of dreams, keeping alive the American pastime, even behind barbed wire.
No.
From sagebrush and sand to a field of dreams. Now, it's all olive orchard. The good old American game of baseball. It did help to transcend the sins of bigotry and hatred. More importantly, it brought a sense of great pride and respect to our respective countries and our peoples. But I've always said, whether Issei, Nisei, Sansei, or Yonsei, if we do not preserve this unique chapter in American baseball history, it's all going to be about no say. I'm Pat Morita, and I thank you sincerely, all of you, for sharing with us. And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
The internment of Japanese Americans is not a proud chapter in United States history. It began almost immediately after Pearl Harbor with the full force of federal law and was explained to the country as a wartime necessity.
When the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor, our west coast became a potential combat zone. Living in that zone were more than 100,000 persons of Japanese ancestry. We knew that some among them were potentially dangerous. Military authorities therefore determined that all of them, citizens and aliens alike, would have to move.
My dad wouldn't unpack his suitcase for almost over a week because he was upset. And we were kind of downhearted too.
When I went into camp, I had this little duffel bag that my mother made for me. When we start unpacking, I had a Tony Lazzari left-handed baseball glove inside my suitcase.
Tetsu Furukawa and his family were among 120,000 Japanese Americans, most of them U.S. citizens, deemed security risks by the federal government. They were ordered from their homes and businesses and herded into temporary barracks at 10 so-called relocation centers throughout the western United States.
You're American citizens, you get detained, you get incarcerated, and you get shoved into horse stables, and you think that, my God, what's happening? This is just a stench of inhumanity.
The barbed wire fence was all the way around. Stuck in a camp like that with nothing to do, we just didn't know what was going on.
After working hours, over weekends, a relocation center is the scene of baseball and softball games by the dozen.
They took everything away that was all-American to the internees, yet they didn't take away the all-American sport. Putting on a baseball uniform was like putting on the American flag. It was their badge of honor.
Japanese Americans produced scores of talented players in the 1920s and 30s, among them Kenichi Zenimura.
He played against Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig, and all these big-name Yankees that barnstormed Fresno.
He was only 5'1". He was very small, but very fast.
He was the father of Japanese American baseball. He ate, breathed, and slept the game. Everywhere he went, he built a baseball stadium.
Zenimura was in his 40s and was interned with his family at the Gila River Butte Camp in Arizona. There, in the middle of the desert, he carved out a diamond and organized 32 baseball teams. Zenimura's teams became the pride of the internment camp.
Imagine a field of dreams in the middle of a Pima Indian reservation. It had a grass infield, it had a grass outfield. 7,000 people would show up to the games.
Playing for Zenimura, you had to go practice a lot. You were a better fielder, you could chase flies better, and it gave you a lot more confidence.
Zenimura's team of high school players from the Gila River camp earned a reputation beyond the camp's barbed wire. In April of 1945, they attracted the attention of the three-time defending state high school champions from Tucson.
Zenimura got a call from the coach of the Tucson High School, and they came to an agreement where they would play 2 games.
Coach Slagle relished the opportunity to play, these great ball players. Whether they were Japanese Americans, whether they were internees, enemy aliens, it didn't matter to him.
Zenimura's team played their coach's scrappy brand of ball, rallying from an early deficit. The game was tied at 10 into the bottom of the 10th inning.
So the count is 3-2, the bases are loaded, and whammo, Harvey Zenimura hits a line drive over the third base. Everybody runs out to the field. It's pandemonium.
This was much more than a baseball victory. This was a humongous victory for self-esteem, for the underdogs to win.
We thought maybe we might get a return game. It didn't happen.
Letter from Tucson coach Hanley Slagle to Eagles coach Zenimura. As for the possibility of canceling our game, we'd never given it a minute's thought till we arrived home and started hearing from these so-called 100% Americans. I sincerely hope it won't be too long till we are all thinking straight again and can live together in a true democracy.
Response from Kenichi Zenimura to the members of the Tucson baseball team. I can only hope that in due time the differences in opinion can be overcome and that we may be able to resume our athletic rivalry. I sincerely hope that we may meet again, not as a team perhaps, but as single members of Uncle Sam's and fight together for one principle. Sincerely yours, Kenichi Zenimura.
The Japanese Americans would be released at war's end, though many would lose their homes or businesses.
Outside the Lines is a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.
It may come as some surprise to learn that Japanese immigrants actually brought the game here with them after it had been introduced in Japan by an American teacher back in 1873. And though there were no Japanese Americans in the big leagues, they had their own leagues. And during World War II, the team Bill Tsukamoto was on faced World Series pitcher Spud Chandler.
He's a control pitcher, and he tried to hang a curveball right where I could see it, so I went with the pitching.
Got a triple, eh?
Yeah, I did.
But most of the ball-playing Japanese Americans did during the war took place in internment camps. This model is of the one in Gila River, Arizona. Herb Karima played on that field, and though this treatment of American citizens could easily have embittered him, it wasn't something he dwelt on.
We never talked those things. There was a politician, they're the one that talked about it.
Instead, he and his buddies played ball, hoping to bring some measure of joy and entertainment to those in the camp. Every ball player had a nickname, of course. Herb's was Moon. The reason?
My old man used to make moonshine.
90-year-old Shizuto Kawamura says they built their own field of dreams.
Sort of homemade scraper and flatten the ground out, And of course, there'll be a lot of pebbles, rocks, and everything in the field.
For immigrant communities isolated by color barriers, it gave a sense of unity. In 1923, Takeo Utsumi was a bat boy. Later, he earned a famous nickname.
They couldn't pronounce my name. These guys didn't associate with Japanese. So Lou said, well, just call him Babe.
And then Babe got a chance to see the Babe, an exhibition game with the Slugger and Lou Gehrig.
I remember when Babe Ruth and Gehrig came to Stockton. And they wouldn't call him out on anything. We said, one more, until he hit one over the fence and everybody go, hey.
Slight stature and discrimination may have prevented some players from any chance of making it to the big leagues. Then the war dashed all hope. And from behind the wire of an internment camp was the only place they could play ball. Diamonds in the rough, who made their mark on the mound. Rusty Dornan, CNN, San Francisco.
Yeah, I started playing ball when I was 9 years old. For a century ago. I organized a Asahi team. And then I played with the Asahi for about 20 years. Right?
And he's my catcher, He's my top catcher. He was a good catcher. I went to Japan 1937, a barnstorming tour. We went through Japan, Korea, Manchuria, up to Thailand. From Busan to Thailand, we covered all that and came back and played Japan, all the teams that we could play. I had a record of 15 wins and 4 losses.
This picture was taken, I can't remember what year it was. I'm so ancient, so I can't remember these things. But the New York Yankees made an exhibition trip through Japan after their regular season. And at that time, I was on the Japanese team that was playing the Yankees. And I happened to be asked to try to translate for Mr. Stengel. And hell, I couldn't understand what he was saying, let alone, trying to translate it. But that's where this picture came from.
He asked me to help make a diamond and organize the teams. That was in Assembly, Fresno Assembly first. Then we went to Arkansas, Jerome, Arkansas.
Thank you, sir.
We made the all-star team. We played many outside teams. It was terrific. Well, I think all the people, especially East State people, they know only baseball instead of basketball or football. So I think I'm very happy that we made team for them to see, outside team. They never saw such a great team.
1920 to the 40s, World War II interrupted their dreams, though. They were sent to camps. Most never returned to baseball. One player had tears in his eyes today as he talked about finally being remembered.
All my kids are here. My brothers and sisters, I think they're my family. There's almost 30 of us here.
Is it wonderful, though, to see the honor they're paying to the Japanese-American players?
I'm very happy, yes.
The media has been so tremendously supportive, and one of the things that they keep kicking back to us is that, how come we've never heard about this legacy? How come we have never heard about these ball players or these legends? Well, from this point on, they will. And it's something I feel very proud of.
As straight as possible.
Created fellowship between and across the chalk line. Some of these players were the first Americans to play professional baseball.
Out onto the field and you hear the roar of the crowd of over 50,000 people, I ask you to take a second and look toward the sky and know that your teammates are with you and that the other legends in the sky are here with you today as well on our own field of dreams.
in Tennessee, but dreamed of better days. I left the plow and the picking bag to join the homestead graze. All summer long we played the States, then headed south for fall. Through rain and dust we rode the bus so we could play baseball. We played for love, we played for pride, and seldom made much more. The bread and beans, the Holt rides, the seedy side came with the life we chose. But we made do and we came through 'cause we were pros. We played in shadows of the Babe, Lou Gehrig and the rest, and stood outside the big league fence while they were called the best. But we played as well and gave them with every hit and pitch, but stayed behind the color line and watched those boys get rich. But did they see Josh Gibson swing or Satchel throw his stuff? And do you know how much it takes when best is not enough? When clouds roll in across the sky and hide the brightest moon, it's then you'll find some stars don't shine. Some folks were born too soon. God bless you, Jackie Robinson, Willie Mays and all. You wore numbers on your backs when you played big league ball, and every time you hit one out or slid or laid one down, you carried us from that old bus to the hall of Cooperstown.
Inside the Tokyo Dome or at SBC Park, the game is the same. Tonight, we celebrate 150 years of U.S.-Japan relations and honor the pioneers of this positive dynamic of diplomacy and baseball. Who can forget Willie Mays and his catch in the '54 World Series, or Roberto Clemente's cannon arm, Ozzie Smith's dazzling plays up the middle, or giant Kevin Mitchell's barehanded grab, the acrobatics of Ken Griffey Jr., or home run king Sadahara O's 868 power drives. In 1981, Masafumi Yamamori of the Hankyu Braves made this legendary catch to rob a potential home run, a play that Major League ballplayers voted the best they had ever seen. In 1854, Commodore Perry opened Japan to the world, and in 1872, Horace Wilson introduced baseball, and the cross-cultural tours of the game began. The 1934 Babe Ruth Lou Gehrig All-Stars ignited baseball-crazy fans, and 2 years later, professional baseball gave birth to the Tokyo Giants. The early 1900s brought Nisei, African Americans, Latinos, and major leaguers together for goodwill tours to Asia. But back at home, the other Americans played in leagues of their own. They played for the love of the game and crusaded to break down barriers and change perceptions. Josh Gibson, Satchel Paige, the Kansas City Monarchs, and Jackie Robinson would draw up to 40 and 50,000 fans at their stadiums. After the war, baseball ambassadors like the San Francisco Seals, Lefty O'Doul, Joe DiMaggio would raise the spirits of the people with their goodwill visits. A 10-game exhibition series drew 500,000 fans. Hawaiian-born and future Japan Hall of Famer Wally Yonamine was a pioneer for future American ball players and changed the game in Japan towards more of an American style. Masanori Murakami became the first player from Japan to play in the majors, and he opened the door for future pitchers to succeed in the big leagues.
Tugboats the roads where crowds don't roar.
Len Sakata, also from Hawaii, would win a World Series ring with the Orioles, and he paved the way for position players from Japan.
Who would have imagined 150 years ago that a Japanese would become a leading hitter in America's Major League Baseball?
Let's play ball!
Well, everyone, this is Blaze, and again, this is the third show in a series of Negro League baseball, and we included the Japanese Americans because they too were part of the Negro Leagues. What was the name of their teams that participated? The
Nichi Ball.
Nichi Ball.
It's called Nichi Ball.
Okay, we also want to point out, because our time was short, we want to thank Mr. Kerry, Nakagawa, who was supposed to be here tonight and allowed us to show this video for you, which was a great video. He has a book out, Through a Diamond, 100 Years of Japanese American Baseball. You want to say something in closing?
You know, it's just an honor to be able to share this history along with the Negro baseball history, and it's one that's intertwined and needs to be told. And I'm just glad to be able here to be
that gentleman they inducted, the owner, what were some of the leagues he had? You said he had what?
He had an all-nations team.
All nations.
Okay.
Who was
and
involved?
it was actually made up of Afro-American.
What was his name? He was inducted.
J.L. Wilkinson.
Okay, good.
Okay. He had an all-nations team which was made up of American Indians, Afro-Americans, and whites.
And
Japanese. They played Japanese Americans, and they played side by side.
Japanese Americans. I don't think that there are any Japanese Americans in the major leagues, but that's soon to change. We just wanted to give credit to them tonight, and I think that was so great. Also, as you might have noticed, we had Pat Morita from the Karate Kid, who has passed away. Appreciate having him on the show as well. The voice you hear was that of Kerry Nakagawa, also during that fantastic documentary. So next time we're going to talk about the shrine of the Eternals
at Pasadena for the induction of Josh Gibson, Fernando Venezuela, and Kenichi, I can't pronounce the last name, Okinawa.
Kenichi Zenimura. I got you. Okay, well, we want to thank everyone. And what you were watching also, Kerry Nakagawa is the nephew of Kenichi Zenimura. So we just want to say that it's a family thing. And we appreciate your time. Thank you very much. We look forward to seeing you on our next show.